Hey, I just want to get into a very simple concept, and that concept is one of the principal guiding laws of the universe and in physics. It's called the law of polarity, the law of duplicity. To be duplicitous means having paradoxical characteristics, it means having two manifestations of your personality or anything that seem to conflict with each other. Like me personally, I can be the kind of guy who lusts after women, the kind of guy who objectifies women, or on the other hand, I can be the kind of guy who uplifts women, the kind of guy who's positive, inspirational, the kind of guy who thrives best when I'm in a situation where I can teach the youth. I can be the kind of guy who enjoys listening to rap music that embraces self genocide, or I can be the kind of guy who hates that and speaks out against black on black violence. But the point is, that's what being duplicitous means. That's what the law of polarity means. It's a scale, you know, just like heat and coldness, it's a scale. It goes backwards, it goes forwards. And that's the guiding principle in the universe. And the reason why God gave this quality to the universe is so that we can have a line of demarcation, so that we can understand what darkness is and what lightness is. It gives us the ability to show and prove our higher self. Once we have the power to acknowledge who we are, the good, the bad, the ugly, and identify the duplicitous sides of ourselves, it gives us a place to start from where we can grow. Because if you don't know who you are, if you don't have the knowledge of yourself, if you don't understand the duplicity of yourself, then there's no way for you to have a baseline to grow from. The key is to allow your higher self to shine more than your lower self. We all have a lower self and we all have a higher self. You know, just like a coin has two sides, we have two sides. And God made it that way for a reason. Just like you have God and you have the devil, and they both have conflicting goals. The reason why God made it that way is so that we can thrive, so that we can have a reason to be good people, so that we can have a reason to be righteous. You know, if you didn't know how it felt to be dehydrated, then what value would water have? You understand what I'm saying? So it's like identify each duplicitous side of yourself. Define what your lower self is. Define what your lower self is interested in, what your lower self is capable of, when your lower self tends to manifest, and then identify your higher self, you know? And once you get into a position where you understand your duplicitous nature, you're able to, first of all, catch yourself. You'll be able to determine when your lower self is active, and you'll be able to determine when your higher self is active. So don't get upset at the fact that there's a yin and a yang in life. That's one of the great things about life, because it gives us a tutorial and it gives us real strategic ability to define who we are and have the knowledge of ourself. And therefore, with that knowledge, we can grow and we can become better. You know, because if there was no such thing as evil, if there was no such thing as despair, depression, unhappiness, we wouldn't know the value of happiness or feeling good. So there has to be these conflicting natures in life in order for the righteousness and for the good to thrive. So one of the best things that you can do for your mental health is to analyze yourself and to understand your duplicitous nature and embrace your duplicitous nature. Don't feel bad because you have these conflicting manifestations of yourself. Understand who you are on both sides of the polarity and try your best to gear that scale towards the positive side. Once you have a baseline of who you are, You're able to manipulate that scale from your righteousness to your unrighteousness, lower self to higher self. And that's just the duplicitous nature of the universe. It exists in physics, it exists in quantum physics, it exists in human nature. And there's nothing wrong with that. God made it that way for a reason. Everything and everybody is duplicitous. There's no one way of doing things. There's no one way that a person is. Everybody has two sides to their coin. But the key is to understand that and name that. Like I call my lower self Benny Pacino. And Benny Pacino can be a womanizer. He can objectify women. He can love rap music that's totally degrading women and totally encouraging black on black violence. Then my higher self is Benny Shala. Shala is totally interested in the opposite things. He's interested in righteousness. He's interested in uplifting the community. He hates anything that has anything to do with black on black violence, genocide, or getting away from knowledge of self. Because I understand this duplicitous nature of myself, I have a baseline to work from, and I have two sides of my polarity, and it gives me the control of adjusting that scale. So acknowledge these duplicitous, conflicting, contradictory natures that are inherent in all of us. Embrace that, because that's knowledge itself. Peace.